everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Veach Season. Still your number one podcast named after Brett Veach in Chiefs Kingdom, listened to by Chiefs fans. I know it's a small market, but we are at the top, mother effers, and so don't you forget it. Brett Veach, we know you're listening to this right now. As always, open invitation. You guys mostly don't know this, that the actual real name of this podcast is Veach Season with your host, Brett Veach. And actually, me and Kramer each week are actually just guest hosts.
Yeah, we're the fill-in for him.
We're the fill-ins for Brett Veach because he's actually has such a busy schedule that he has to keep on just asking us, "Hey guys, you guys pitch in for me? Can you really can you pick up this episode for me?" We've just been doing it for him because we're just such good pals and we just really like to help out our friends. But one of these days we have hope and faith that Veach will return like King Arthur from the Crusades and pull Excalibur from the stone and ascend the throne and take his rightful place on this podcast where he belongs. And at that point, we will just bow down and like Wayne's World, we're not worthy, we're not worthy, and then just go from there and we'll just be happy that a couple assholes like us are lucky enough to be hanging out around him at that point.
It's nice enough. Knowing that, I tell you that right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so guys, we have a really, really big episode today. We were really, really lucky. We actually have the official Veach Season legal correspondent as a guest on today's host, James Todd. He is a defense attorney there in the Kansas City area. If you aren't familiar with his work, you should be. He's kind of like if Tom Cruise from A Few Good Men met Matt McConaughey from A Time to Kill, mixed with Matlock, but then just a little bit of Danny DeVito from what was the one with Danny DeVito and Matt Damon?
Rainmaker.
The Rainmaker. Yeah, a little bit of Danny DeVito from the Rainmaker, just enough, just a tinge, right? And so, James, super happy to have you on the show today, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Not a defense attorney anymore. I'll clarify that. So I have worked in criminal law. Now I mainly do civil litigation. But I feel very lucky and blessed to be here with you guys. Sorry to see when you booked me, like you said, Veach is the host. So that's who I thought this was going to be with. But I'm lucky that you guys are willing to step in and fill his shoes again. It's yeoman work that you guys are doing. It's a fantastic job. So I feel lucky to have you guys, but I feel a little misled because I thought, it's Veach's podcast. I thought I was going to be on with Brett Veach.
I mean, think about how my wife feels. My maiden name was Brad Pitt, right? Before I got married. And she thought that she
changed everything.
Yeah, I was excited that she saw this ugly asshole show up, and she said, "Oh my gosh, like I guess you're already here, and I want to have kids someday. So sure, you'll get the job done." And then here we are. James,
gosh,
apologies.
that's
Listen,
great.
We are 3 minutes into this podcast. We're off the rails. I got your job wrong. Man, this is class A. This is par for the course, Crave Dog.
This is Veach Season, baby.
This is Veach Season, par for the course. How you doing today, Crave Dog?
You know what? I'm doing great, Rocky. It's the day of this recording. It's Mother's Day. Shout out to all the moms out there. Even future moms future moms too as well. But yeah, no, it's a great day to talk to you all, and I'm happy that James is on the show with us.
Oh yeah, I mean we are super lucky to land somebody who's as knowledgeable as James. Full disclosure, me and James have known each other for 25, 27, 30 years. I mean, I can't even put a finger on the first time that I met you. I just know that if I go back to when we were roommates, it's been 25 years.
At least, yeah. I mean, I keep trying to lose your number, and you keep finding me. I thought you were moving to Florida, and we were done.
No, see, I'm like herpes. I go into hibernation, and you don't hear from me for 9 months, and then I just flare back up, and I'm back in your life again, baby. So you can't get rid of me. You can treat me, like subdue me for a while, but you're not going to get rid of me.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how to quit you, James. That's the
Well,
problem.
yeah. Rocky and I go way back. We have a lot of stories that probably shouldn't be shared about each other, and some ones that even a couple of good memories somewhere in there.
A lot of regrets, a couple good memories.
We had a good training camp memory with Eric Berry, one of our favorite draft picks ever. Me and Rocky were pulling so much for the Chiefs to draft him, and what a big fans of that guy.
Do you want to tell that story, James? That was actually my first article I ever wrote for Arrowhead Pride.
I know. Just say it briefly. I have two nephews. Rocky and I took my nephews to Chiefs training camp up in St. Joseph. The Chiefs do a great job with kids, and my nephew's got to do a lot of different things. And at some point, somebody from the Chiefs came over and grabbed my nephew and said, "Hey, you guys want to, carry a player's helmet, to the locker room?" And they were like, "Yeah, great." And I think, gosh, I'm trying to remember the quarterback that might have been Tyler Palco or something like that. One of my nephews carried his helmet, and the other one was a defensive lineman. Wasn't there somebody Tyler? Was it like Tank Tyler or somebody along those lines? Anyways, so Eric Berry, I think, infamous for signing autographs for kids. It goes back to when he was a kid. He didn't get a Deion Sanders autograph he wanted, and he always took the extra effort to make sure kids got stuff. So my nephews came over, and he was walking down the line signing autographs, and I think they brought a football and they got him to sign it, and he was walking away, and somebody from the Chiefs was like, "Hey, yell at Eric. He always gives his gloves to somebody after, practice." So my nephew yells at him and says, "Hey, can I have your gloves?" And Eric walks over and he's like, "Hey, I already gave them to another kid." And he goes and he takes off his cleats, autographs his cleats, and gives them to my nephew. Huge fan of the guy ever since. And I know, he was a great player for the Chiefs. The end wasn't necessarily the best, but always had a soft spot in my heart for him for that.
Well, and the other thing about that was that he was already done signing autographs, was starting to walk away, stopped, came back, then told the kids, "I don't have my gloves. Here's my shoes." And then proceeded after that. It attracted a whole other group of kids that came over and wanted autographs. And he stayed and signed everybody else's autograph after that still, and then walked back up the hill in his socks. Like Eric Berry, 100%. Mad respect. I've told this before on a post-game show. The day that he was diagnosed with lymphoma, I broke down into tears.
Horrible.
It was like seeing your heroes as mortals is one of the hardest things to do. And the fact that he fought through it and he came back, and that game, oh my gosh, you guys remember that game when they returned to Atlanta? Game was on the line, and he yanked. He said, "B, give me that ball," and he ripped it out of their clutches, and he returned it for a touchdown to win the game.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting jazzed up just thinking about it.
He'd be great on this team, don't you think?
Man, Eric Berry, if you ever want to become the host of Veach season, we'll kick Brett Veach out, actually, and you'll become the new host, and we'll be the co-host. Same goes for Tom Bahali. Here we go. We got a four-person crew here. Rocky, Kramer, Tom Bahali, Eric Berry, and James is our official legal correspondent. And your girl is our Taylor Swift correspondent, Kramer.
Okay, you're right. I forgot about that.
Tighter team than anybody could ever ask for on the face of the planet. All right, guys, we're 10 minutes into this. We've talked about absolutely nothing that we were supposed to talk about so far. Just usual Veach season shenanigans so far. But I'm not going to apologize for it because that's our brand. We make no apologies for who we are. We're just a couple dudes. We want this show to be like you're hanging out with your buddies at the bar, having some drinks, talking sports and other stuff. All right, but let's talk about the Chiefs have a wide receiver named Rashee Rice. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this guy. I'm not sure you guys are aware that he's on the team, but yeah, second-year wide receiver, Rashee Rice. Maybe having a little bit of a rough offseason, maybe not quite how he drew it up on his vision board. Like if he made a vision board that had this offseason on it, I would question his vision board and making abilities. But yeah, so So Rashee Rice obviously has a situation. He has was it the Lamborghini belonged to him? No, he rented the Lamborghini.
Correct.
And then he owned, what was the other car that was involved?
The Corvette.
A Corvette. He owned a Corvette, rented a Lamborghini, let somebody else drive the Lamborghini, and then they were racing going 100 and some miles an hour, caused a 6-person pileup, was arrested and charged with multiple charges, including destruction of damage to property and assault, right, with a vehicle. Before we get into this, preface, we're speaking of generalities here. We're not experts on the case. We're not making any legal definite statements or anything like this. This is 100% just guys talking sports and just total generalizations of kind of what could possibly might happen. Legal disclaimer right here. None of this is official or legally binding. Do not take this as gospel ever. Never take anything that comes. That's just a general rule of thumb for this show. Never take anything we say as gospel. We have as many L's as we have W's, and maybe even more, and we're going to own them, and we're going to love them, but do not take us as gospel. We don't want to be your prophets.
Yeah, no.
That's too much responsibility. I can't handle it. I got a wife and kids I got to worry about. That's all the responsibility I can handle. I can't have your disappointment on my plate as well. That's why I would never be a good cult leader. Like, James, you would be a better cult leader than me, I feel like.
Whoa, don't put that on me. Like, no. We're not going in that direction.
All right, we're gonna sidebar the cult talk until after Rashee Rice. But I'm coming back around to this cult talk later on in the episode, whether we like it or not. Now I got something in my head now that I'm gonna come back to.
Oh gosh.
But so anyway, Rashee Rice, gets in this accident with his buddies, walks away from the scene, leaves some marijuana in the car, I believe.
Chiefs playbook.
Chiefs
playbook in the car. Okay, so James, when you saw this right off the bat, what was your very first thoughts?
Well, let me offer my little disclaimer. I'm not a licensed attorney in the state of Texas. All of these events occurred down there, so I can't speak to a lot of things. And first off, we're just discussing things. So nothing here is legal advice or, nobody should rely upon this if I'm not offering legal advice here. Just looking at observations of things that occurred and kind of gone. Rocky, I think I was texting with you when this was going on and when I first saw the story. I think early on, because there was this story listed his Corvette and then a Lamborghini. And as I think at that time I stated, it's like, yeah, I'm sure the Lamborghini was rented. It's not good. Now, this is where I don't know where to go with this. It's kind of open ended. I don't think he's going to jail. I'll start off with that. I think there's a few things that have stuck out to me that have happened since the events that are very interesting. Number one, he was charged fairly quickly, but I think there's been representations he's working with them. So, maybe some of those issues are being resolved. I thought it was very interesting, and I'll put it that way specifically, that his attorney came out and made statements. That's not the avenue I would go
why
through.
Is that interesting? Yeah, why is that interesting?
So this is Rashee Rice is caught in a catch-22. He has obviously now a legal situation he has to resolve. But he's an NFL player and he wants to keep playing NFL football, and he has to deal with the PR situation and whatever the league's going to do. From a defendant's perspective, criminally speaking, the prosecutor has to do all of the work. They have to prove everything. They have to prove that you were the driver. They have to prove that, every aspect of the case. Any statement that you make helps them, especially if it's a statement admitting. I was thinking about this afternoon. We dealt with the Tyreek Hill situation. This was a couple of years ago, where police were called to the house and we got a generalized domestic issue. Nobody knew exactly what was going on. It gets investigated for a number of days, months, weeks. We don't know anything. And then the district attorney here in Johnson County holds a press conference and announces that all the charges were dropped. And his frustration, I think he vented his frustration that he feels like something happened, but nobody's talking to him. So he doesn't have any witnesses, he doesn't have anything. So he can't bring the case. Now, Rashee's this is on video. There's a bunch of witnesses. I mean, it's not the same circumstance where it's a he said, she said, but there's a bunch of people that come out of the car. I mean, everything that you give the prosecutor that makes it easier for them, that hurts you. That hurts your criminal case. The inverse of that is, from a PR perspective, I think you got to do that because I think he's got to start rehabilitating his image. And so those two things are in conflict right now. And then additionally to that, and I know you haven't mentioned this, but he's now being sued civilly. And he's got two different lawsuits. I think one for $10 million, one for $1 million. That is an admission that is going to be used in the civil suit as well, because they're in the same circumstance. They've got to prove that he's a driver. In a negligence case, you got to prove a number of different things, elements that you have to do. You have to show a duty, a breach of the duty, proximate cause, harm, different things like that. So if he's admitting to be the driver of one of the vehicles, he's both giving the civil suit and the criminal suit information that's going to help convict him and lose the litigation on the other side. But from the PR perspective, you kind of have to. Everybody knows. It's kind of one of the situations like everybody knows, but I don't know. That's if his goal was to try and beat the criminal case, the less you say is better for him. And you force.
Does it feel like it's a situation where he's just like trying to get it resolved as fast as possible?
I don't know. And that's the things like we're what, 1,000 miles away, 2,000 miles away. I don't know. I don't know all the facts. I don't know what the police have. I don't know what the communications are. There's kind of a legal game of chicken occurring right now too, because the civil suits, they want him to get convicted, but they don't want him to go to jail because they need him to make money because they want his money. But their case is easier after the criminal case gets resolved, because then they can use that. Well, you were convicted of, aggravated assault and everything like that. But to get the criminal case resolved, he might need to get the civil case resolved. Sometimes, and it depends on the prosecutors. I don't work at those prosecutors' office. I don't know what they're going to do and everything. But oftentimes, to get some kind of a deal, which is what I'm assuming he's going to try and go for, you need a resolution on the damages that you did to the other individuals. So you can go into the prosecutor's office and say, hey, look, I know that there's this, there's a wreck, and so there's damages, but those have been resolved. We also don't know to what extent insurance companies are going to be involved in this, and that's usually what these litigations are about. When you sue somebody in a car wreck, you're suing their insurance company. So I don't know. This could drag on for a number of years. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. If this whole season goes by and there's no resolution, I think he would like to resolve it quickly, but it's entirely possible. There's just, time frames, things don't move as fast as, maybe people want. And it might not move as fast as the NFL. So this could be a situation when he could go and play this season. I don't know. And then he's going to face all the consequences next season, because that's when everything's going to come due. It just depends. The criminal case can move quickly, but the right to a speedy trial is the right of the defendant. It's not the prosecutors to push something through. So if the defendant has to take time to try and resolve these civil matters in order to get a better deal with the prosecutor's office, that might be what occurs. And how many is it? 6, 8 people? I'm trying to remember how many people are involved. If they're trying to resolve settlement negotiations with them, who knows how many insurance companies that is. I'm sure his insurance. What was the insurance situation on the rental car? Is that on his? Did he buy the special insurance from whatever the rental car companies? Is there something in there that voids if it's involved in a criminal wreck? There's a lot of factors here that I won't be surprised if this. We're going to go into the season. There's not going to be any resolution to any of this.
We got to think that Rice is he going to be? This is a general discussion right here. Do you think he could possibly miss games for what's going on here, for how long it's taking, for pretty much being a distraction at this point in time in the offseason? Because it's going to bleed into training camp. It's going to bleed into regular season. I'm just curious if it's the Chiefs doing of like, yeah, we're gonna hold you back a little bit. Like, we need to let this to die down a little more.
Well, I'll leave that to you as the NFL experts. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Roger Goodell, I mean, he has that power to just put him on the exempt list. And I think if things got bad enough, they could do that to protect the Chiefs. But he's got to not pick up more charges. And that's where,
we'll get to that. Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that here in a second. With the original charges, though, is it unique or out of the ordinary to be charged with assault in an automobile accident like this?
Yeah. First, I'll go back to what I said before on I don't know Texas law that extensively, and I don't know Dallas County. Every prosecutor's office kind of handles things differently, and what Texas law is could be different than what it is here in Kansas and Missouri, which is what I'm more familiar with. I did pull up a little bit, and I don't know to what extent it's common, but it is a charge. And I think what he would be trying to do, and it's a felony charge, and felony, that's serious. My reading of it is that it's a second degree, and it's 2 to 20 years, and there can be fines associated with that. From a practical standpoint, that could be a couple of things. Oftentimes what you try and do in these circumstances, and prosecutors will overcharge, and if they do some sort of deal, from my reading, it looks like the lesser included offense for this aggravated assault is reckless driving, which is a misdemeanor. So that's an instance. If it went to trial, they'd have to try and prove the felony, but if they couldn't prove the felony, then you could try and prove the misdemeanor and you can still get a conviction. The first thing as a defense attorney, you're probably trying to do is see if, hey, will we amend this down to the reckless driving? He'll plead to that. It's a misdemeanor charge. And then you're seeking either probation or a diversion. I mean, I don't think he has prior criminal history. I know, there's things that have popped up recently. Maybe there's prior incidents, but I don't think police were involved. So first time offense, I mean, that's what I said from the beginning. I don't think he's going to jail. I would be surprised. Felony's aggressive, but it looks bad. And I don't know. I was kind of looking around some stories, and like one of the stories I found recently is like Texas, Dallas County has a unit trying to stop street racing. It had some deaths from highways, people street racing, and resulting in deaths from the accidents involved. And they have a special unit, and I was just kind of looking up stories this week, and there was a story this week where they're interviewing like what they do in these circumstances. I mean, the thing with cars these days, especially like really expensive cars, with what we're dealing with, I mean, there's computers in there. Everything that happens recorded. Police get a subpoena for that. I mean, they abandoned the cars. The cars went into lockup. I'm sure that they got a search warrant and looked for anything they wanted in the cars. So they got, you get computer data out of that. It tells you exactly how fast it was going, what if there was brakes being, pressed, everything like that is recorded. And so they're going to have so much information. It's going to be difficult to fight. And it looks like it's an issue that the prosecutor's office on there is taking pretty seriously. So, I mean, that's just from my little bit of looking at what's going on down in Dallas County. But I mean, this is something that apparently is an issue around there. And I don't know. I still don't think he'll go to jail, but I think they're serious about the felony. And he could plead to the felony and still avoid jail time. I mean, you can do that up here. You do things that would be like a probation thing, in which in lieu of jail time, you're on probation for 4 years with monitoring and all those different sorts of things. Kansas has a little bit of a different thing. They have a sentencing grid when it comes to criminal actions. So a lot of them have mandatory jail time. And basically what you do is you request a departure from that. and the judge has leave to depart from what is the recommended sentencing if you can, present some good information for doing that. So there might be a circumstance down there, but it looks like the prosecutor's office down there takes this pretty serious.
Now, what I'm curious is, say if Rashee Rice was either here in Kansas doing this or Missouri doing this, since you're more well-equipped and knowledgeable that way, would it still be the exact same thing happening, or would there actually be more, I don't know, this being moved quicker, us knowing more results, or because I feel like I personally think everybody's dragging their feet on this.
Are you talking about dragging your feet on they're dragging their feet on the criminal?
Yeah, but what if it's say if it wasn't Kansas that he did this in, or say if it was Missouri that he did this in, would this be like a clear cut? Okay, yeah, this is what's happening right now.
No, I mean, again, because I think the issue with I've dealt with cases where there's been accidents involved in a car, so you have a criminal portion, you get something like a reckless driving charge. Again, prosecutor's office might be willing to work with that, but again, they want something to be resolved regarding the accident on the other side. If it's not a high profile case, that can be hard, because sometimes you get in an accident, you exchange insurance information, you get a ticket, you go to court, prosecutor's saying, hey, okay, so so-and-so is this accident, we need a letter from them either saying that, hey, they took care of it, or something from your insurance company saying that you paid for all the damages. And that's just on a fender bender, a couple $100s. I mean, we're talking extensive medical bills. I mean, people went to the emergency room. That is what could slow this down. I mean, I know people. I have an individual that I know personally where they had an individual that hit a parked car of theirs. Nobody was in it. I think the allegation was that they were drinking. That dragged on for 2 or 3 years before that got resolved, because defendants can continue things, and the civil stuff it's kind of a game of chicken right now. Like, who's going to resolve first? Because the civil, unless they are able to reach some settlements, they're going to want the criminal conviction to use in their case. But the prosecutor's office, I'm sure he's trying to get a deal, isn't going to want a deal until all of the personal injury is resolved. That's my assumption, at least. I mean, I haven't worked down there, but if that was up here, that's what you would run into.
So one little wrinkle in this that I saw in a story, and I mean, whether or not this happened in this case or not, is that with that street racing unit you talked about, that street racing charge, that part of that was that the vehicles are confiscated. I heard, and so if one of those vehicles is a rental car, but then the police confiscated because it was involved in street racing, how does that play out? Does the rental company have to come back and attempt to recoup that money from Rashee Rice?
Yeah,
or
I don't know on that. I didn't see that. I don't know if that's like an asset forfeiture thing that they're talking about. I just don't know on that one. That's the only thing I could think of would be, I suppose, like an asset forfeiture, but I don't. That's usually not this kind of circumstance. It's usually something else. Maybe on that statute. That's where I'm just going to be in the dark, is maybe there's something down in Texas going on that I'm just not familiar with. So,
okay. So you spoke a little bit like Rashee Rice just needs to kind of keep his nose clean to hopefully, get this wrapped up and moved along. And newsflash, story comes out this last week that allegedly Rashee Rice is not keeping his nose clean. Rashee Rice was out at a club. And this is where I'm going to sound like an old man. And an old man on two fronts. A, because I'm an old man. And B, because I'm going to quote How I Met Your Mother, which is an old show. He was out at a club at 2 a.m. with this situation going on. And nothing good happens after 1 a.m. That's the rule. That's what they say. It's true. I've made a lot of mistakes at 1:15 a.m. in my life, and times after that. I made a lot of mistakes with you in my life after 1:15 a.m.
No comment.
no comment. He refuses to confirm or deny.
I have
yeah,
no
like
recollection.
Exactly. Yeah, he pleads the fifth. He pleads the fifth on half of our friendship. So, but with that being said, like A, what are you doing, Rashee Rice? But then B, it seems kind of dicey because allegedly he punched a photographer in the face. It says originally, but then it says there was a verbal disagreement. Then it says the guy left, and then Rashee Rice called him to come back to the establishment, and then punched him in the face. But then the owner of the establishment said, "I don't know if that happened because I didn't really see anything like that happen at my place." What the F, James? What the F?
Well, I have two quotes for you regarding this, and I meant to kind of lead with these. Going to two of my great legal influences. One of them you mentioned, the great Tom Cruise, is Lionel Caffey, and A Few Good Men. It's not about what you know; it's about what you can prove. And one of my favorite professors of law, Richard Epstein, he likes to say he's a professor of law, not a professor of facts. This is the classic situation of what will they end up being able to prove? I don't know. I wasn't there. It sounds like there was video. It was in a club. This, first thing that came to mind, and I think I texted you this immediately, was I thought back to the original case because he's out on bond. And when you're out on bond, it's not just that you post money. You usually have other conditions. Now, I tried, and again, I don't practice in Texas, so a lot of what is in the case is behind systems that I don't subscribe to, so I couldn't pull up the specifics of it. But it's not uncommon for bond to have conditions on it, such as maybe you don't drink, you don't consume drugs, and you don't pick up any new charges. Now, he hasn't been charged as of, I think, what time is it? It's 8:00 on Sunday nights, May 12th. But who knows? I mean, this is going to come down to the prosecutors. They're going to have to figure out what will they be able to prove and how strong their case is. They have an individual who says he was struck. You have two individuals who said it was only verbal. I mean, verbal can be, and this is where you kind of get into, so assault, traditionally speaking, is not actually hitting somebody. That's battery. Now, a lot of the statutes actually say assault and have it as a different thing, but I mean, did he threaten to hit him? I mean, that could still be a crime in and of itself. If he put the guy in an imminent threat of a battery occurring or an actual assault, it's not, like you said, it's not a good circumstance. Go home. This is just another bad decision in a series of bad decisions, and he's got to figure it out. The toughest thing as an attorney is you can't control your clients. You can advise them on the right things to do. I hope that his counsel is doing that for him, and I think that's maybe one of the more frustrating things in all of this. I mean, I don't know his background. I kind of looked up a little bit. I don't know what his circumstances are. I thought of this a lot, and one of the first people comes to mind is like Frank Clark. I remember before he was a chief, seeing a video series about him, and he was literally homeless for a while. I think his mom was homeless. Like, he just comes from a harsh background. L'Jarius Sneed, similar situation, just a harsh background. And L'Jarius was able to get it together and stay in the NFL, and obviously he's been able to put himself forward. Frank did as well, but kind of dealt with the demons of his past on occasion. He picked up 2 gun charges when it seems pretty silly when you're a multimillionaire and you're driving around and doing guns, and it doesn't make much sense. And so Rashee's not there. This is his first off season, and honestly, this is the first time he's really been away from the team. I was thinking about this. You get drafted, you come in for rookie mini camp, you have the voluntary, and then there's like that 3-week period, which seems like when everybody makes their big mistakes. I don't know about you guys. I always think of that window on the end of the off-season activities before they report to training camp. It always feels like there's a half dozen or more stories. Somebody who did, because it's the last hurrah before you got to go to training camp, before you got to buckle down. But maybe this is the first time Rashee's been free since he got drafted. He got drafted. He started training with Mahomes. He did everything. Went through the whole off season. Went through training camp. Went through the Super Bowl. And now he's getting a chance to go back to all the people he was with before, and it's not a good group. He needs to find new friends. I mean, kind of like me. I've been trying to replace Rocky for a long time, and unfortunately, like Rashee, he just keeps getting me in bad situations.
I know. I've never put a gun in your car like Frank Clark had, though. I've never once done that. I've never gotten you in any sort of an illegal situation.
That is true. We have never been arrested.
Yes.
We've never been arrested.
Yes.
Yeah. I should say we've never been arrested. That's what I should say. As far as illegal situations. But yeah, it's kind of like you mentioned, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. But at the same time, I'm going to quote another great legal movie that a lot of people haven't seen. It's a little known Australian film called The Castle that has Eric Bana in it. And in it, this guy who's the worst lawyer on the face of the planet is trying to defend these people. They're trying to eminent domain their house and bulldoze it to expand the airport. That's the whole entire premise of the movie. And this guy has a really bad attorney trying to represent him. And the guy goes before the court, and the judge says, "What's your precedent?" He says, "The Constitution." And the judge says, "Which precise part of the Constitution?" And he says, "The vibe of it, just the general vibe of the Constitution. This is against the vibe of the Constitution." Now, Rashee Rice, what he did may not have been criminal, but it's against the vibe of just staying out of trouble and keeping your nose clean from like a public perception standpoint and from the Chiefs standpoint too. And now there's a couple of interesting situations that this comes to, because Rashee Rice is on a second-round draft pick rookie contract. It's not like he has $11 million in civil suit money just laying around. So he's got to make more dough fast, which means that either he's going to have to, I don't know, try to find like, I don't know, a CBD endorsement or something that's going to be like, I don't know, Need for Speed video game endorsement, something like that to make some cash. Or if I'm Brett Veach, if I'm the host of this podcast, Brett Veach, and not the guest host of this podcast, Rocky Magaña, I'm calling up his I might consider, if I think that he truly is, got it through his skull and he's got some sense knocked into him, I might leverage this into a situation and be like, "Yo, we could sign you to a 4-year extension right now to get you some cash. It's not going to be the money that you think you're going to deserve. It's not going to be, market price for somebody who even puts up the statistics you have. But I know that you need to get cash flush fast, and this is an avenue towards it. So you can either take it or leave it, buddy." If there's a situation, I guess this is an important question, James. If there's a situation where, say, somebody sues him for $11 million in a civil suit and they win and he owes $11 million, but he's like, "I got $5 million to my name," what happens then?
I mean, the judgment stays there. I mean, what I would guess, I don't know. I mean, what happens is that you can garnish wages in the future once you get the judgment. And that's why I said, like, the people in the civil, they don't want him to be kicked out of the NFL. They want him to make some money so they can get his money. And that's, I mean, the $10 million is that I was actually kind of surprised the civil suits were filed as quick as they are. Usually you try and let some medical bills accumulate before you file, because maybe they're going to ask leave to include those in later. And I'm assuming a lot of that money is for non-economic damages to try and, pain and suffering, and try and penalize them for, not necessarily for direct medical. But when you get a judgment, yeah. So, I mean, what you're hoping is that you can get an amount, if it's $10 million, $11 million, and then he's paying you for the next 10 years. And it'll just be part of his paycheck, part of whatever the settlement agreement. If he's able to reach a settlement agreement, it'll be that. That's why, I mean, he's got to be hoping his insurance companies, I don't know what they're insured up to, but whatever that payout's going to be, should eat up some of that. But yeah, I mean, they want him in the NFL, and so that's where there's kind of he's dealing with two different things. It's the PR and the legal, and like you said, the vibe of this situation, the vibe's not good. It's because it doesn't look like he's taking it seriously. That's the perception it puts out there, and he's going to have to do some things to probably convince the league and the Chiefs to a certain extent that this is. And another thing I was thinking about, and I think I texted this to you at one point, Rocky, is, I mean, let's be clear that the Chiefs' recent record in draft picks, they're not afraid to take question marks and characters in the draft. But what they haven't been inclined to do is sign those people to extensions, especially when it rises in the NFL again. And I'm thinking this offseason, Willie Gay, there was a little bit of questions, and then he caught a case, and they didn't re-sign him. I mean, Tyreek Hill is maybe the one exception that they ended up doing exactly what you were talking about. They found a situation where they could get him some money, and I think he kind of resented that he was being paid for less than what he was worth and ended up leaving. So that was one of the other things that initially jumped in my mind, going back to your first question. I think I texted you this at the same time as well. I think with what's happened means that Rashee Rice won't be getting a second contract with the Chiefs. So for me right now, I'm interested to see if he plays out and we're doing, something like a franchise tag, or if it's a Marcus Peters situation and they trade him before his 4th or 5th year.
That'd be interesting, right? If they did, you have to wonder. I don't think you can trade him this offseason.
No,
because you're not going to get anything for him. You're not going to get anything of value whatsoever. You might as well, since he's on a rookie deal, especially if he's possibly going to be on the commissioner's exempt list, just let him ride the roster for a time, and just unless he does something else that makes it unattainable to have him on the roster and gives you reason to try to recoup some of the money that you've paid to him or that you owe him in the future for for behavior detriment to the organization or something like that. James, you are the best official legal correspondent of any effing podcast in the world. Like, how did we luck out to get the best legal correspondent in podcast history? Like ESPN, Pat McAfee, don't come knocking at our door. We got dibs on him, and we have an airtight non-compete clause with him. Even though
was I supposed to sign that?
Well, the DOJ just said that they're like unconstitutional. Also, I think, right? They just like outlawed non-compete clauses recently, so it doesn't even matter.
No, you're too kind. I can't believe that's true. I mean, maybe what is your podcast space? Brett Veach podcast targeted the Chiefs fans. Maybe I'm in the top 5 in legal correspondence for that. I'd feel comfortable there.
I think you're the top 1.
You're the top 1 because we're the only one. Yeah, we're all the top ones, baby. It's okay to be a big fish in a small pond.
Pat yourself on the back now.
Yeah,
there we go.
Look at you. You did it. You did it, James Todd. And before we let you go, though, we got more stuff to talk about because you're not just a legal expert. You are also one of the most knowledgeable people in the world that I know about barbecue and smoking meat in general. And you are a barbecue aficionado, kind of like myself, because we are both from Kansas City, which means that by default, we like to smoke the meat, baby.
As long as it's not the Hereford House. Just point that out right now. As long as it's not them.
Speaking of legal issues, let's not go there right now. Yeah.
Rocky has no idea. That's good. Don't.
I got no idea because I'm living in Tampa now, boys. I'm out of touch. What did the Hereford House do?
A part-time employee was putting bodily fluids in the meats and the sides.
Duh.
It's gross. It's graphic. Just look it up. I'm not going to keep going to it. A lot of people food poisoning. Hereford House.
Oh,
yeah.
It was.
All right. Well, Hereford House is. We'll have to drop that sponsorship of the show. Now for a word from our sponsors. Hereford House, the official steakhouse of each season. No, we do not. We've dropped them as a sponsor effective immediately. We do not support, juices and meats.
That's not supposed to be a part of the meats.
Yeah, foreign juices in your meats. All right. Anyway, so Yelp recently came out with a top 100 barbecue restaurants in America, and I'm just gonna lead it off by saying that this is one of the most dog shit lists of barbecue spots I've ever seen on the face of the planet. And I'm sorry, I think the lady's name is Jean O'Brien Meyer Davidson. Blah 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 blah. I don't know her name, but it's a terrible list. There's not a single Kansas City barbecue restaurant in the top 5,
which is ridiculous.
The only ones from Kansas City that are on the list are Joe's, which I love Joe's.
Oh yeah,
and then Hangar 29.
Never heard of them.
Never heard of them. And then Slaps. Slaps is fine. I do like Slaps.
Good.
Slaps is good. But like what we're not gonna throw in any of the other legendary places like Q39 made it also. And I'm sorry, Q39, not my favorite place. But like we're not gonna throw in Arthur Bryant's, we're not gonna throw in Gates. We're not going to throw in LC's, which is what I think is pound for pound one of the greatest barbecue restaurants to ever exist on the face of the planet. Are you kidding me?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Char Bar made it in Westport.
Yeah, like Char Bar made it. I mean, Char Bar is fine.
Yeah, it's good.
It's fine, but like Meat Mitch is better than Char Bar.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Like, come on. Like, what? We're at Wyandotte Barbecue. Like, come on, like what, like where, like who is this person? And I was looking at it though, but here's Sisters Barbecue. This is what I was looking at it though, and almost every single place on that list looks like it was designed by Chip and Joanna Gaines, and it's like a hipster, like place you go after church with your family. And the sides are better than the meat, and you get a small portion, and it's not in it's not in an urban neighborhood with a vibrant ethnic surrounding. They look like they're very much like suburban, next door to your church, and that's where you go after church to get your lunch type of places. And if that's the case, then shame on you, Yelp, because barbecue in general has a rich cultural history in the Black communities of America, and you're missing out on the best barbecue in America if you are not including the Black communities of America in this list. And you clearly did it because you had places in Las Vegas, Arizona, it was like Anaheim, California. There was one barbecue restaurant in Memphis.
Number 100. As much anger as Kansas City must have over this list, Memphis, that's astonishing to me.
I'm pooping in a bag and mailing it to them if I live in Memphis. Are you joking me?
It's like the Hereford House.
Do you have the list pulled up? We were looking at it this afternoon. Number 2, I don't know if they picked, because for the highest ranked one was Oklahoma Joe's for Kansas City, and they have the Z-Man. Not the biggest Z-Man fan in the world, but I get it. A lot of people like that sandwich. Number 2 is this Corkscrew Barbecue. And I'm looking at it, and I don't want any part of whatever that is. It's like beans with macaroni and cheese layered on top with sausage. That does not say anything barbecue to me, and it doesn't look good at all. I don't understand that. We're going to say, oh, yeah, this is who knows? Corkscrew Barbecue may be good. And I'll put the mild that.
See, I would try that. I would try it.
For the people who are watching us, who are listening to us online right now, go on YouTube. We're at the 49-minute mark. Look at this god-awful monstrosity. It looks like they opened up a can of baked beans, poured it into a Solo cup, put some mac and cheese on it, and then chopped up like a bratwurst that you would buy at your local Price Chopper that they cooked in the microwave.
See, I'm guilty of actually making this dish at home.
That's the problem. You can make this dish at home in 20 minutes in a microwave.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it would look like.
Can concur, yeah.
This is your number 2 barbecue restaurant in America.
I don't see how that's the best foot forward. I'm sure that place has fantastic food. I don't know. Maybe that's their best seller. Who knows? I don't know. I'm going to defend the list in the slightest sense, only in that I find Yelp still useful. And I found out maybe today that I'm an old man, and other things have replaced Yelp. When I've traveled to a new city, I pull up a Yelp list and I say, hey, what are some of the places that I should try out? If I was in Spring, Texas, I might go to this place. I'm not going to eat that thing. Maybe I won't go there out of principle, because for me, that's nothing barbecue.
That's not barbecue. That's not barbecue. That's something you get on a Wednesday at your high school cafeteria. Like it's something you buy at Kauffman Stadium. From
I think they have that too. Yeah,
they have to have something like that.
That's probably why I made it at home.
And the reason
that
why
would be
call
good
out
stadium
this list,
food, because you could just get it. You could get that in one of those. Forget the ice cream. Do that in one of the little helmets, batting helmet.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
hold on one second.
Yeah.
Scroll down to number 3, and you can't tell me how dry that looks on the Eric's Family Barbecue. I feel bad saying how dry it looks. Dry to me. Whatever slap of meat they put on there.
Yeah, that's not a good cut.
That's not a good cut at all, and it's not a good filter that they used either. Here, we'll pull this up really quick. This is Eric's in Avondale, Arizona. Shocking. The brisket in Arizona isn't up to par. Yeah. I'm sorry, Eric. My God.
The dry heat there for that dry piece of meat.
Well, here's the thing where's the smoke ring in this? There's zero smoke ring. Yeah. And so this is not barbecue. The thing about this list, and I'm going to call it out right here, the thing I think that really, I'm an old man, and I'm going to say it right now, the thing that pissed me off about this list when I was just reading through it from the very beginning is when it says it's not all about the meat. For some barbecue mavens, the main event is the sides. No. If you're going to a barbecue restaurant and it's not about the meat, then you don't like barbecue.
Exactly.
Or if the barbecue restaurant isn't good. Now, I love Trevor Sikkema at the NFL Stock Exchange. Great. He always says 3 side minimum when he goes to barbecue. Trevor's from Tampa, though. He's not a true blue barbecue guy like we are. And I love you, Trevor, but it's not about the sides. If you make it about the sides, then you're not eating the right meat. And so when you sit there and say at Fox's Smokehouse, you can create a barbecue Sunday with 4 sides and a choice of meat. No, gross. You're telling me that you need something to cover up the flavor of the meat. That's what I hear when I hear that. That
Gosh, Rocky, preach, man.
What? So there's a Tampa place, Al's Finger Licking Good Barbecue. Have you been there?
I have been there, and guess what? Al's Finger Licking Barbecue is the 8th best barbecue place in Tampa.
No, it's number 40th place in the country.
And that's the 40th place in the country. When you come to Tampa, there is only one barbecue restaurant that I will recommend in Tampa, and that is Conan's Barbecue. Now, I'm not saying it's as good as anywhere in Kansas City, but it's the best you're going to find in Tampa. And so Konans. Been there multiple times. Love the people. Love the place. It's got this little blues barbecue type of spot. Really plugged into their community.
Gosh, I'm hungry now. Oh, man.
So Conan's, get the ribs at Conan's. They're good. They're good. They can hold their own. But Al's Finger Licking Good, I tell you what, I think they might boil their ribs there.
Ooh.
Yeah. And before they smoke them, I think they might boil them.
For Kansas City barbecue, I don't know if you guys can relate to this. When I was a kid, when there was grilling at the house, it was always steaks or something along those lines. Like it was a Weber grill, and you were doing burgers, doing hot dogs, doing steaks, something like that. Now, so many people in Kansas City barbecue, have a smoker. I mean, I smoked my bacon this morning when I was making some breakfast for Mother's Day. The amount of smoking that people do, that's affected my barbecue eating. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't go out and eat barbecue as much anymore. And when I do, I'm like, I really want something special. And so there's only a couple places I go. I mean, Woodyard should be on this list. They're fantastic, but I just don't know if Kramer, you're in Kansas City as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, can you relate to that at all?
I mean, I don't have a smoker. I live in an apartment place, so I really can't own one on here. But like from the stuff that I can make at home, just like the easy peasy stuff. I mean, I classify that. I mean, I like to stay at home and make my own stuff, even if it's just me getting a grill and just going out into the parking lot and doing whatever I need to do out there for it. So it's I don't know. I only go to a handful of joints here in Kansas City, whether if it's Smokehouse or Joe's, which those two are relatively close to my location. Yeah. And so it's like, that's just what I do.
Yeah.
Here's the point. In Kansas City, the market is saturated and the palate is refined enough that if you don't know what you're doing,
if
you're not going to survive.
You can go to Price Chopper right now and get you either half rack, a full rack, and do whatever you want with it. Like, and everybody can just open up their own. Because, I mean, here's the thing, too. I feel like you can find 100 people here in Kansas City, and they can be all on this list right now.
Oh, 100%. And that's the whole thing. It's such a source of pride and such a part of our DNA as Kansas Cityans that if you're not amazing, you're not going to survive.
Like Kauffman Stadium, great barbecue. Oh, my gosh, Kauffman Stadium. You need to get the barbecue when you go there.
Deal.
Yeah, no, you need to.
Town, James. We're going to a game and we're going to get some barbecue at Kauffman Stadium.
I'm actually shocked of how good barbecue is at a baseball venue. Like that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, but so I haven't been to a game this year. That's been a long-standing complaint I've had about them, though, is because they have the chain. Isn't it Sweet Baby Ray's?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Which Sweet Baby Ray's is fine, but why isn't there a Kansas City barbecue place in Kauffman Stadium? They just opened, I think, the current stadium, and one of their, who is it? Is it Oklahoma Joe's that's opened up a spot in current stadium?
I think it is.
Yeah, like there needs to be Kansas City barbecue in Kauffman Stadium.
Well, 100%. There should never be anything but a Kansas City barbecue restaurant in any of the local stadiums. I'm 100% with you there.
Confirming it right now. Joe's is there.
Yeah. All right. I could talk. We sit here and talk about barbecue literally for this could be like a 6-hour anthology of us just pissing and moaning and talking about how KC barbecue is better than everybody else, and the rest of America can go F themselves if they don't like it. You know what? Also, before we move off this subject, really quick, just one last thing. Screw you, Texas. Your barbecue sucks. Your brisket's flavorless. You need more than salt and pepper. You don't know what you're talking about. All Texas barbecue is garbage. Okay, that's it. We're moving off the barbecue. Don't have anything else to say except for F you, Texas. Okay. Yeah. So Travis Kelce is in the news again. We always have a little bit of Travis Kelce in every single episode because, hey, we love Travis Kelce and he makes great content. James, another thing about you is you are also a horror movie connoisseur.
And I do like a good horror movie.
You do. Actually, yesterday you were just texting us, what horror movie should I watch tonight? And I immediately went to Rotten Tomatoes and just Googled top current horror movies because I hate horror movies. And then I just threw you some recommendations and you were like, watched it. Sure. And then, so I can't get you the deep cuts that you deserve when we're talking about horror movies. Kramer, you like horror movies?
Hell no. They terrify me.
Yeah, I am too big. I'm too big.
You know, I'll wear that badge of honor, me being a complete POS.
That's what I'm saying. A PUS, some other letters after that. 100%. I don't like the jump scare. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, no, that's what gets me. Can't do it because of that.
I hate the jump scare. The jump scare, I am too big of a PUS and some other letters to handle the jump scare.
It's a cultural thing. I grew up with them. Some people sat and watched Disney movies with their families. We watched Nightmare on Elm Street. It's just what I grew up with.
And see, I got with that. Like, I enjoyed the 80s and 90s stuff. The new stuff, I'm okay. It's too real, I guess.
You know what I grew up with, James? An older brother who was 3 years older than me that hid around every single corner and would jump out and punch me in the chest the second I walked into any single room without me expecting it. So, no, I don't like the jump scare.
Well, there you go.
Nick,
all right.
Nick, my older brother, I love you. You're a great guy now. As a kid, he jumped out and scared me constantly, and it ruined me for horror movies forever because I thought I was constantly going to be murdered.
See, I refuse to go to Worlds of Fun during Halloween because of stuff like that.
Oh, I hate haunted houses. I
know.
absolutely can't do a haunted house.
I want to come down to Florida and go to Universal Studios because they do the haunted Halloween nights in September and October, and
even more so,
there's bad.
It's not Howl-O-Scream. I think maybe it's called Howl-O-Scream down here. There's an event down here where when you go there, there's 2 different levels. One level is just like normal haunted house stuff. The other one, you have to sign a waiver. And when you sign the waiver, they will legit tackle you and drag you and lock you in a cell and like not let you out. And like, like it's like full on like physical like abduction and locking you in a jail cell.
It's like
sort
a fetish for people.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Weird.
I don't know. I'm there for that. And this will be an odd thing. As much as I like horror movies, I've never been to like any of the haunted houses here in Kansas City, like the Edge of Hell and all the ones that they do down there. Never been to any of them.
Can't say I have either.
I have, and I did not like it. I wasn't.
Why would you put yourself in that environment, Rocky? Like, there's no reason for you to.
Kramer, I was a young man at one point in my life, and I wanted to act like I was strong and tough. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and she said, "Me and all my friends and their boyfriends were all going to this haunted house. Let's go to a haunted house together." And I said, "Yeah, babe, I'm your strong, protective dude." I'm past that. I'm past that now. I married a woman who hates horror movies even more than I do. We're perfect for each other.
Hell yeah. It worked out for you.
It worked out great for me. We just watch like nice things like The Voice after dark. Like we won't watch anything where somebody dies once the sun goes down. But anyway, Travis Kelce is in an upcoming series called The Grotesquerie from Ryan Murphy, the creator of American Horror Story, which it's actually a really good. I've seen some episodes of American Horror Story, and they were scary, and I didn't like them, but they were well made. James, have you watched American Horror Story at all?
American Horror Story is not really my cup of tea. I've seen the first season, and I kind of enjoyed it. I watched the second, and the second kind of goes all over the place. They have insane asylum. They have alien abduction. They have a demon possession. They have a Nazi doctor. They have a serial killer. Like that's just the second season. It was too much, and I watched it, and I was just like, I can't go any further. I've heard some other seasons are good afterwards, but I've not revisited the series yet.
So of those things, saying that this new series that Travis Kelce is going to be in holds the form of those ones, would you say he's probably more likely to be an alien or a Nazi doctor?
Oh, really?
Let's hope an alien.
I feel like his agent and Taylor would at least be like, "No, Travis, you can't be a Nazi in this show."
Wait, so is he going to be the villain in this show, or is he going to be like a goon? Is he going to be a good guy? Like, I'm actually more curious to see like what he's actually be doing in this.
Well, they can't tell him now. I mean, that's going to be the surprise.
It's true.
I mean, you got to have a surprise reveal for the killer. If he's
maybe
the killer.
He's a tweener during this entire time, like a wrestling term, by the way, tweener, where he's a heel or a face. I would love that.
I think that I could see him in 2 roles. One, being like a big, strong murderer type of guy who's like really kind of like boyishly charming, but then also a killer. Or like kind of like the edgy detective who's a little dirty, but he gets the job done kind of thing.
Is it because of the mustache?
Yeah, it's definitely 100% because of the mustache. It's because of he's big, strong, and he has the mustache. But kind of like Russell Crowe in LA Confidential, like that kind of vibe, but like taller and probably not as good of an actor as Russell Crowe. Let's be honest. I love you, Travis Kelce, but Russell Crowe's amazing in that movie.
It certainly was.
Certainly was. Speaking also of Travis Kelce, you guys, I would just like to say this is our TMZ Chiefs portion of the show. TMZ Chiefs, where we talk about the what's hot in pop culture and the Chiefs. It's been officially 6 months since Taylor Swift said live on stage that Karma is the guy on the Chiefs. James, how does that move you spiritually?
Well, in the last 6 months, it hasn't done much for me. And I'm going to say as of today, until you mentioned it, I wasn't aware. So no, obviously it's been great with all of the Taylor Swift stuff. I mean, it just has expanded the brand of the Chiefs. Chiefs have been fighting to do that every which way they can. And
hearing James talk about Taylor Swift is like listening to Andy Reid talk about Taylor Swift.
That's a good point.
I have nothing against Taylor Swift. I have I don't want to bring any ire from any Swifties. I think that's the fear. I don't know if you guys watch. We watch Taylor Tomlinson's show after midnight, and that's an ongoing thing. Whenever she talks about Taylor Swift in any way, it's like we don't want to draw the ire, and that's where I'm at. Everybody likes their own music, and she's obviously very talented and does a lot of things, and they seem to be very happy together. So those are wonderful things. So people can enjoy that, and like I said, as much as that's brought more attention to the Chiefs, that's great.
Kramer, in your household, your girlfriend or your fiance, apologies, your fiance, your future wife.
Keep that right.
Well, I don't know. Sorry, put some respect on her name.
She is a saint.
Put some GD respect on her name, Magaña, when you get her name out of your mouth. Otherwise, anyway, in your household, has this been a big topic?
No, not really. No, it's been a like a fly on the wall. Basically, it's just there. Yeah, we know about it. That's it basically. And honestly, I know that she made that publicly 6 months ago. You cannot tell me they weren't like talking or dating 6 months prior before that, because I feel like they've been together for longer than 6 months.
Well, but they had already been out in public in New York prior to her saying that and holding hands, and then he had that cameo on SNL when Ice Spice was on SNL and Taylor Swift was in the studio to support her friend. So they had already, and then Taylor came out and said they'd already been seeing each other for months prior to that, because as she said, we're not gonna just like, I think she say, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think she may have said we don't want a raw dog like coming out in public like on a first date. It may not have been raw dog, but it was something to that effect. Like
I highly doubt Taylor Swift said raw dog. If she did, she's putting more on a pedestal up for me right now.
I think she may have said raw dog, or maybe I just interpreted it that way.
Honestly, it's the most I've ever heard someone say raw dog in a hot minute too.
Oh gosh.
You're Crame Dog. I could be the raw dog. The Two Dog Podcast.
It does hold up to the name because you have a couple kids. Does.
Wow, yeah. Hey, this guy right here gets the job done. It's not flashy. It may not be enjoyable, but it's effective. It's effective. All right. Oh man, I'm sorry, Serta. Steven Serta is going to cancel Veach season.
Veach season, baby. Let's go.
Veach season. We are who we are, and we make no apologies for it. All right, let's move along here. We're gonna wrap up this episode because we're going long, and we're getting off the rails more and more.
Texting me about it
as we go. All right. So recently, Austin Rivers said 30 quick fire topics here. Recently, Austin Rivers said 30 guys in the NBA can play in the NFL. James, yes, no.
I'll go yes. Plays a very low standard. I mean, does this mean somebody who's on the practice squad that you're trying to convert into a tight end? I could see that. Are you talking about somebody who's going to go out there and be a starter? I don't know. And mainly that's just, it's a contact sport versus a non-contact sport. Your bodies are different. They might be, given a couple of years. I'll be honest. The other thing, the NFL's gotten more complicated. And I think you're really seeing that with some of these athletes. I think there used to be this idea that there's wide receiver on every playground in America because you need an athlete. But with what defenses are doing, what they're disguising, wide receivers, even if you're just talking about an athletic guy to put out there and catch the ball, what they've got to do on a play-to-play basis of reading a defense, making adjustments to the routes, especially in like an Andy Reid offense. I mean, maybe if you dumb it down and it's just like jump balls in the end zone. That's what I said. Play, yeah. I mean, star, I don't know if there's that many guys.
There's at least three. You got to put LeBron James up there. LeBron James could be a tight end or a wide receiver in the NFL, I believe, because of how athletically gifted he is and the size. The other one, if he could get his act together from, I don't know, dieting or however, Zion Williamson, he could possibly be an actual tackle in the league or like a defensive
end.
Yeah, defensive end too.
Yeah.
But the thing is about all these NBA guys, also the other one's Draymond Green because, I mean, he's very fiery. The only thing with these NBA guys is they're a bunch of pansies. I'll say it. That you are, I don't know. You're trying to limit your playing now because an 82 game grueling season's a lot on you. I get it. You're running up and down the court a lot at an elite like level, but you got NFL guys actually hitting each other, bumping into each other, not just making cuts while they're doing that, but also being forceful at times given. I can't see an NBA player doing any of that.
Well, I think the issue also with NBA players in the NFL is that there's only a few positions that they could play, right? Like they don't like the quick twitch of a defensive back. Those guys are too big and long. They don't have that. They're not going to have that quick twitch ability. What do you think the average 40 time?
They're all skinny and frail.
Well, also, what do you think? What do you think the average 40 time or shuttle time of a guy in the NBA is?
Well,
Right?
there's a lot of point guards out there, and that's where, like, I mean, there's plenty of guys in the NBA who are 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". I mean, those guys could be they're equivalent athletes to what you're talking about with a wide receiver. I think the physicality is a big issue, though. I mean, when you get hits. I mean, your body. Patrick Mahomes is talking about this offseason. People were giving him crap about having a dad bod, right? And he's like, well, I got to take hits, you know? I mean, I got to be able to, you know, not just go out there and perform, but I got to have a little bit of a hit. And, you know, these NBA guys, they're lean. You know, they're going to have to bulk up a little bit. And that doesn't mean just getting stronger. It's just like putting on some weight and being able to take impact. And that puts different stress on ligaments and everything like that. It's a different thing. We're seeing that in baseball too. Like, you have a lot of these guys, like, there's no contact. It's all about, you know, long muscles, agility, speed, quickness. Any kind of impact, it's the bruising nature of the NFL. It's just a little bit different. I mean, could guys adjust? Yeah. Could you specialize them? Yeah. But I don't think anybody's going to be walking off the NBA court and onto in an NFL field and, you know, performing at a high level.
No, like Steph Curry would get broken in half.
Now, I would love to see Victor Wembanyama like take one under center and just like if it's like 4th and goal on the 1 or like close to getting a touchdown, just putting his hand over and just crossing the line that way. I mean, that'd be pretty sweet.
Well, and I think that less players play multiple sports. You know, you go back 30 years ago, you know, Bo Jackson, you know, Deion Sanders, like players, you know, in high school, like they weren't playing AAU, they weren't playing year round. You know, you played for your high school, and you probably, if you were one of your best athletes at your school, you played football, you probably played baseball, you ran track, like you did all of those things. Nowadays, I mean, we're talking about American players and certain European players, they're not ever playing football. You know, they're playing basketball year round. Like that's all it is. There are different skill sets, and I think the specialization is kind of underrated there. It's hard to play the NFL. I mean, there's a reason why so few people who want to be football players make it there. You get the athletes, yeah, but I mean, they're years behind what these other guys have been doing. They're just not going to have the knowledge.
Well, I agree with that, and I do think that there is so like you said in the past with these other guys, there is so much to be gained by playing multiple sports in general. Like you hear Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce talk, they attribute their skill in football being to the fact that they played baseball and hockey and everything else growing up. And Dane Brugler always highlights if a guy played another sport in the beast because he feels like it's such a great, you know, asset to somebody. And I've said this multiple times. If I was a GM, I wouldn't draft anybody in the trenches without a wrestling background. Like Creed Humphrey was an amazing wrestler. You find me a trench guy who grew up as a wrestler because it's just so much about leverage and pad level and footwork and all of that and balance. And all of that is wrestling and hand placement and hand fighting. And that's all wrestling is. Right.
And I think of two things pop to my mind. Number one, Akeem Olajuwon. He grew up playing soccer, and he didn't pick up basketball till later. It's not that somebody can't pick up a new sport; they can. Secondarily, the Chiefs are trying this out right now with the rugby player they got in. They're trying to see if that guy can figure out if they can teach him how to play football. He's as good an athlete as there is, it looks like, anywhere. So
if he's half as good as football as he is at looking good in a picture, then we got an all-pro in our hands, because that is one handsome SOB.
If he makes the team, he will be the new heartthrob.
He already is the new heartthrob. Anyway, this is supposed to be quick fire, guys. This is supposed to be quick fire. What are we doing? Wasting all this time. Okay. All right. A couple more things. Zay Jones. A lot of Chiefs Kingdom freaking out that the Chiefs were unable to sign Zay Jones. There's a rumor he came in and visited them. I'm going to tell you guys right now. Big whoop. Zay Jones couldn't make it on the Raiders. Zay Jones he's fine. He's fine as a depth piece, but he's not any better than what we already have on the roster. Like, you're going to sit here and tell me that Zay Jones is significantly better than Justin Watson. If you take Zay Jones's accumulated money he's made in his career and you divide that over his total yards, his dollar per yard gained in his career is over $8,000. Justin Watson's is $7,000, right? Justin Watson, I think, was $6,000. Marquez Valdez-Scantling's was over $7,000. And then Tyreek Hill's, though, here's where moving on from Tyreek Hill, I think, was a good idea. Tyreek Hill made $31 million, right, last year. If you take his yards, he got paid $16,000 for every yard he gained.
A big contract.
Year. Which is why Brett Veach said, "We love you, we want you, but not at that price tag." And I think that's something that there's a lot of teams that are getting ready to shell out big contracts to wide receivers, which is also why Brett Veach is drafting wide receivers, is because at some point it's you're not getting the returns that you're paying for there. James, though, Zay Jones, are you heartbroken that he's not going to be a Kansas City Chief?
I'll defer to you guys. I don't know that I really knew him that well before he showed up, and the Chiefs didn't sign him. So
if you didn't know who he was, then wow, must have really been a missed asset there, Kramer.
They don't need him. They don't need him.
You instantly know Zay Jones. He was on your terrible Raiders team.
Yeah, a team that was led by head coach John Gruden. This was a Gruden guy, but I mean, he didn't work out there, and I mean, it made sense. He didn't work out in Jacksonville whenever they signed him to a 3-year deal that was worth a crap ton. I didn't understand it at the time, but you know what, Zay Jones, good for you on still being in the league. You didn't need to be on the Chiefs, but it's like you don't really need him on the Chiefs if you're the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs wide receiver core is already set. It's fine.
They still need somebody else, but I think it's going to be post. I think it's going to be post June 1. I think it's going to be post June 1. If you look at the New England Patriots depth chart, they can't keep everybody on their depth chart. They just can't. They have too many wide receivers at this
Rocky's
point.
over here salivating, waiting for the June 1 to happen. Like, we need one of these guys. We need to pick one of these guys up right now. You don't need to. You don't need to.
We may need Juju back if Rashee misses some time. That's for another podcast. We're not going to get into that today. That's what we call a teaser in the biz, people.
Oh, speaking of teasers, I forgot to give my tease from last week.
Tease us.
So it's also I was going to put it in the What's Up with Crame Dog. Didn't do that at all. Yeah. So
what's up with Crame Dog?
So but this upcoming Friday, your boy out of it's the Salvation Army is putting this thing on at Arrowhead, and I'm going down 10 stories rappelling off Arrowhead this upcoming Friday.
Holy cow!
Wow!
Oh yeah, it's going to be a blast. Cannot wait.
How does somebody watch this, Crane?
I have no idea. I'm assuming I'll have photo and video of it up later on. But yeah, it's happening. I'm actually going to be basically jumping off Arrowhead Stadium this upcoming Friday.
Can people come out and support you? Or
I believe so. Yes.
Is it the side where you come in if you're going up to the suites and everything like that? Like there's the side with all the glass?
I have no idea. If I'm being honest, I someone asked, "Hey, you want to do it?" I'm like, yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Of course you do.
Exactly.
Hey, Raiders fan, don't sabotage our home field. Don't want you planting any flags on the way down.
I put a knock if you hear me sticker underneath or something.
Yeah, no. Keep an eye on him, Salvation Army. Don't let this guy.
No, but I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
That's going to be awesome. If you guys go out and celebrate and support Crane, You definitely should. Kramer, that's awesome. Super proud of
Absolutely.
you. That's totally cool. Okay. 2 more quick things we're going to hit on before we get out of here. Dad sweater, Albert Wilson. Hung it up. He's retired. James, what's your favorite Albert Wilson memory?
Oh, boo. I was supposed to have one.
No, I'm putting you
I
on the
remember
spot.
him being on the team, and I remember him being a very serviceable and helpful wide receiver. I don't have a specific memory. I feel bad.
What a glowing epitaph.
I know. What can I say?
To a storied career. Kramer, you have any fond memories of the dad sweater Albert Wilson is?
I don't. I'm sorry, I don't.
I do.
At this point in time, if like when whoever edits this at the end, if you know that the Snoop Dogg Who type of thing pops up, feel free, go for it. I know Albert Wilson, calm down. No, I have nothing.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes' rookie season. Chiefs are playing against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Who's this rookie? What do we have on our hands? They say, hey, it's already locked up. Let's give Patrick Mahomes a start. Who showed up for Patrick Mahomes? Who was his leading wide receiver in that game? Who was the one that was there to help start the legendary career of Patrick Mahomes and put it all in motion? Dad sweater. The dad sweater was in full force that day. He had like 110 yards receiving that day, and it was a victory by the Kansas City Chiefs, and for Patrick Mahomes, it was his first victory in NFL history, and it'll always go down. And Albert Wilson can always have that to hang his hat on, that he was there for Patrick Mahomes in his very first victory and was his leading wide receiver. So Albert Wilson, we salute you at Veach season, baby. And the last one before we get out of here is if you could make up an entire team, 53-man roster of one Chiefs player, just repeat it over and over again, 53 of the same guy, who would be your Chiefs player? All time. Let's say all time.
Let's do current right now. I think current would be a lot easier.
All right, let's do current right now.
Because you could do like all right, I'll start. Justin Reed. Justin Reed can do anything, especially on defense. He can catch a football. But the biggest thing on here is the special teams. If you're getting a 53-man roster, this guy can kick and make field goals. He can punt it probably. And I feel like he's the most well-rounded football player the Chiefs actually have on this team. And I bet you he could probably throw a football. He could throw a football to himself.
That's interesting. James.
On the Chiefs team right now, I'm going off of pure like body build, physical specimen. I would go Leo Chanel. I think at his size, he could play almost all the positions. He could, because you're going to have some offensive linemen and stuff like that. Like, he's not going to be a Pro Bowler, but he's big enough, strong enough. He'll keep somebody off of himself before he throws the ball. So I'll go with Leo Chanel if we're going current team. He's a big, strong, fast guy.
I kind of want to steal your answer now, but I can't because you already said it. I wasn't going to say Leo Chanel,
but now I want to say.
I always said L'Jarius Sneed prior to L'Jarius Sneed no longer being on the team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Isaiah Pacheco. Kind of same body build sort of thing, athleticism, speed, size. I feel like even if he didn't know what he was doing on defense, he would haphazardly just throw his body into every single ball carrier without remorse. And so I could do something with 11 guys on defense like that.
Yeah,
so, and blocking
you
too.
Be coming across the middle of the field and have Isaiah Pacheco coming in.
Oh my god, that sounds terrifying. Actually, like Vontaze Burfict all over again.
I feel like we would just have like tons of like unnecessary roughness and pass interference, but we would just live with it. It just it'd be a battle of attrition with Isaiah Pacheco. James Todd, the official legal correspondent of Veach season. This has been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.
For this hour and 20-some minute podcast today. Guys, as always, first of all, before we leave, James, anything you want to plug? Anything you love? Anything great going on in your life? Anybody want to give a shout out to?
I'll just do a shout out. It's Mother's Day. Love you, Mom. I am lucky enough to have had two moms. My parents were divorced. My biological mom's passed away, but my stepmom, Teresa Todd, fantastic person, teacher, Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. Wonderful individual. Been there for almost my whole life, and couldn't love her more, and couldn't have had a better person to help be there for me throughout the years.
James, your biological mother was a beautiful human being and one of the sweetest ladies I ever met in my entire life. And Teresa is equally as beautiful and equally as sweet. And you are super lucky because I know you as a person, and you didn't deserve either one of them because they are way too good for you, my friend. Yes. But yeah, so happy Mother's Day, ladies. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Oh yeah.
And as always, guys, we're a bunch of upstart, ragtag guys at this point with our new platform we're working on over here at Foolish Club Media. So every single 5-star review really, really, really helps out. And so once again, thanks for rocking with us. Thanks for listening. And if you think we earned the privilege of your time, just leave us a 5-star review and some kind words. And if you think that we suck, leave us a 5-star review and some unkind words. Nonetheless.
And we will read them on air.
We will read them on there. We will read every 5-star review that we get referencing Veach season on air moving forward. So pile them up, baby. All that being said, we'll talk to you guys next week. Be good to each other. Love each other because we love you guys. And we'll talk to you soon.